You're live. Okay, we're going to just, since this is our first one, our first stream, we're not sure. We've got John Miller up there in the booth, and he's plugged in to a feed, and I suppose I could call my wife. I still have 9 minutes here. Oh yeah? Is it live, John? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well then then we don't need it. All right, for those of you who are tuned in right now, raise your hand. All right, yeah. Even the guy I know is tuned in up there in the booth did not raise his hand. So I'm not going to count on that as a real way of knowing whether this is actually working or not. It's an interesting experiment here. This is actually very similar to the way I practice every day. My wife can tell you that I practice a lot, and usually she leaves the house, and so it's me and the dog, and no one else, and that's kind of like it is here in the theater. It's kind of weird to be doing a show and have it be the empty theater, but that's the way it is. Those of you who tuned in early here, you're getting to hear me practice a little bit. You know, and I don't know how, I guess these the clocks on the computers are actually accurate, right, Elliot? So it's 6:55. We have 5 minutes. I guess you could tell you a little bit about myself that I won't be including when the actual show starts at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in North Carolina on the East Coast, and perhaps my son out in California is listening in. And For him, it's 5 o'clock, which is weird. There was a time in this nation when we didn't have time zones, and then the railroads made it happen. Everybody knows that, right? So anyhow, I spend half my time up here in northern Minnesota, and the other half of the time I'm down in western North Carolina, just not too far from Asheville. A lot of bluegrass down there in western North Carolina. Okay, so, I was talking with the people here at the Edge about streaming, and one of the people said that to her, streaming means going down and swimming in the river. Maybe you know who that is, Elliot. I told people I was going to say that, and she said, well, don't tell anybody who I am. And one of the songs I got that probably aren't going to do tonight because there's only so much time is Minnesota, I Love You. And it's got some real interesting, it's got a middle part where, all of these computer terms, and of course, being a streaming show, we've got OBS suites running, and we're uplinking to YouTube, and we've got Keynote running on a feed to the television behind me, and there's a lot of technology involved in this. But a lot of those computer terms that people use down in the lower 47 are not really used exactly the same up here. Like log on up here, that means the fire needs wood. Megabyte, that's what's happening when the fishing's good. Holding up the house is what the mainframe's all about. And laptop, that's where my beer spills when I pass out. A website, that's something up there in the corner of the ceiling. A microchip is what's left in the bag when the rest have been eaten. Netscape, that happens when you can't land the fish. Digital means you can count on your fingers if you wish. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Anyhow, that I got a song that has that in it. I'll do that one of these days. All right, let's see. What do we got? We got 6:59. I guess the comedic introduction is almost over. Weird being in a theater with nobody in the audience. Of course, my sing-along is going to be kind of just me singing along. Anyhow, I think that the computer clock is going to roll over to 7 o'clock just about any second now. A lot of the slides you're going to see, the visuals on the TV monitor behind me are really me. Anyhow, 7 o'clock. And I want to welcome everybody to the stage here at the Edge Center in Big Fork. This is our very first streaming concert, and it's been a technological challenge for us, but I hope we got it. Hope somebody out there is getting it. Thanks to all of the people here who, this little bitty community has this beautiful theater, and it's a gem, and it's amazing that the volunteers that keep it running keep such good stuff happening, including our first streaming concert here. So, what do you say, Elliot? Let's do it. This is my 12th time up here on the stage at the Edge Center, but I've been coming up here since 1953. This here's the story of my very first trip up to Minnesota. It was in the back seat of my grandpa's Pontiac Chieftain. This is my song called Are We There Yet? I was 7 on my first vacation, it was 1953. Grandpa's Pontiac was packed and I jumped in the big back seat. 600 miles from Illinois to the Minnesota lake. We're back down the driveway, headed up Ann Street. I said, how long will this take? Grandpa, are we there yet? How long will it take? Are we there yet, Grandpa? Can you see the lake? Oh man, I was excited. There were no interstates, just 2 lanes, and they ran through every little town. Soon as you started picking up speed, you had to slow the Chieftain down. In Wisconsin at Beloit, and I wasn't car sick yet. On through Madison to Dells, Eau Claire, and then we rolled into Chautauqua. Grandpa, are we there yet? How long will this take? Are we there yet, Grandpa? Can you see the lake? See, we were staying with the relatives in Chautauqua. One night stay with the relatives was an endless maze. My Aunt Meal mushy kiss, Uncle cigar smoke haze. Potluck supper, too many hugs of course. With the price you paid to go fishing with Grandpa way up north. By noon the next day in Minnesota, miracle occurred. Trees grew taller, time stood still, and the blacktop turned to dirt. Flew out of the forest, man, we were riding on a cloud of dust. The car went quiet and I heard a loon, and we were sitting on a sandy bluff. Stood up on that back seat and I looked out the window. How there could be no mistake, Grandpa, I can see the lake. Now it's been a lot of years since that first trip, and Grandpa's fishing in heaven. Oh, what I would give to go back to the time when I was 7. Today I drive myself to the lake in the front of a Chevrolet. The back seat's smaller and I've grown taller, but I still hear the little boy say, Grandpa, are we there yet? How long will it take? Are we there yet, Grandpa? Grandpa, Grandpa, can you see the lake? Yeah, that was my first trip, and today a trip in a car is a whole different experience because you have video monitors in the back of every seat, and you have streaming internet right to your phone. Every little guy has a phone, man. I couldn't even see out the back seat window to play the license plate game. Now the reason I was coming up here, the reason we all came up here from the family to Sand Lake over here, not too far from here, was my great uncle had bought a piece of property, and he was a hunter and a fisherman, and he would come up here, and so his wife, my grandfather's sister, would come up, and along with my grandfather and my grandmother and my aunt and my mother and my Uncle John. Little boy would come up here to the cabin, and he never knew my uncle. He died in World War II off of Iwo Jima when his ship sunk. See, this is going to be just exactly like my living room, with my guitar, maybe in tune, maybe not. that sounds pretty good. Anyhow, all of the family would come up here, and I have a picture of my Uncle John, and he was a little boy standing out in front of the cabin. He dug a little old pine tree about 12 inches high out of the woods. You know how you do when you're a little guy, and you plant it next to the stoop. And that pine tree today is like 60 feet high, man. Well, I loved it up here at the cabin. I do to this very day. So when I inherited the cabin, I always carried the key in my pocket. When I first started getting together with my wife, I knew I needed to convince her I was the right kind of a guy. So I pulled the key out of my pocket and I said, I have a key to a cabin in Minnesota. And that went a long way towards convincing her that I was the right kind of a guy. This is the first song I ever wrote. It's called Cabin in the Woods. I wrote it for her, but I think I also wrote it for my Uncle John. The pine tree that my uncle planted before he died in war, now a tower telling us through nature will endure. Touch his branch as I go by, I talk to him of peace. Never knew my uncle, but I sure do know his tree. Yeah, I've got a cabin in the woods. It stood 100 years, held me in its warm embrace, and it has seen my tears. It's looked out on a million sunsets, never made a move. Always open to a bright new life in a love that's all brand new. In our cabin in the woods, loving you forevermore. In our cabin in the woods, along the shore. Going on late summer now, I feel the need for haste. So much left to do out there, to wonder or to waste. A single note of a robin song, a single sunlit day, a moonlight night or rainbow, don't let them get away. That birch that's fallen down the bluff is heading for the lake. Soon a storm will nudge it off to drift upon the wake. To roll and bob and touch a friend who's been so out of reach, then to sink down deep below and then to be at peace. In our cabin in the woods, where life is always new. In our cabin in the woods, loving you. Yeah, but look around the cabin now, there's new life everywhere. Little pine, a spruce, a birch, a maple over there. And my uncle's legacy looks down and says the world is right. Cabin goes to sleep at last while lovers kiss goodnight. In our cabin in the woods, where life is always new. In our cabin in the woods and loving you. In our cabin in the woods, loving you forevermore. In our cabin in the woods along the shore. And that's for you, Uncle John and Sandy. Okay, so that cabin had one bedroom. And so when the whole bunch of the family would come up here, a lot of us would stay over at Sand Lake Lodge down the beach a ways. But the adults that were in the cabin would sleep in the bedroom, and I was the little guy who got to sleep out there on that big old screen porch. And it was a big old high bed that you slept way up high, and so you were at the level of the sill of the screens going around the porch. And it was screened on three sides, and so you're laying there, and all the lights went out in the cabin, and it was kind of scary when you're a little guy. You hear all of this scritchy scratching in the woods, and the hooting and the howl, and what was going on out there in those woods, I don't know, but it was pretty scary. As I grew up, though, I realized that it was a whole theater of activity happening out there in the woods. And at night, when the forest comes alive, it's really an interesting place. There's my story, my song about the nighttime forest. I can't help but think back on those. Think about sleeping in that old screen porch. Sky's on fire, there goes the sun. Like a fading ember, day is almost done. Bright red clouds are fading fast, reflected in my lake of glass. Loon songs echo off the pine as the nighttime forest comes alive. What's that noise that I'm hearing? Just a deer down by the clearing. Chorus of 1,000 frogs from lily pads and sunken logs. The light is dim, the show will start. Every creature has a part when the nighttime forest comes alive. A porcupine in a coat of quills is out about his nightly thrills, while that masked little bandit with a night of mischief planned. It is my friend, the raccoon, who steals through shadows of the moon when the nighttime forest comes alive. Sky's on fire, there goes the sun. Like a fading ember, day is almost done. Bright red clouds are fading fast, reflected in my lake of glass. Loon songs echo off the pine when the nighttime forest comes alive. A barred owl scanning from his lofty perch spots a mouse who's gone in search of food to store for winter, but it's the mouse who will be dinner, while the masters of the dark are the bats who swoop and dart when the nighttime forest comes alive. A beaver slaps his tail a warning, then he gathers wood till morning. There's a moose down at the river grazing, aren't these animals amazing? The show goes on till dawn comes creeping. Most folks miss it 'cause they're sleeping when the nighttime forest comes alive. Sky's on fire, there goes the sun. Like a fading ember, day is almost done. Bright red clouds are fading fast, reflected in my lake of glass. Loon songs echo off the pine when the nighttime forest comes alive. When the nighttime forest comes alive. And that's a lot of what I heard laying there in that old bed in the screen porch. So anyhow, I've been coming up here since I was 7 years old, and now I live up here. But I haven't had the luxury of being able to be up here all my life. I mean, I traveled around, I had a job, I had to go places, but man, every time I could get a chance, I would come back up to the lake. And no matter how much had changed in my life, how much had changed in the world, it seemed like the old lake was still the same old lake. This is my song called Same Lake. I came to the lake when I was young, my life a song yet unsung. Should have known this fate was mine when nature kissed me that first time. 1 week each summer as I grew old, the lake seeped into my soul. The constant of my life was change, but one simple thing remains. It's the same lake, though the trees and I have grown. It's the same blue sky, though many a storm has blown. It's the same sand beach where so many castles stood. The same laughing loon songs echo through the woods. Yeah, I once followed every trend, the newest means to reach the end. Went where others said I should. Some of them directions weren't so good. Now that I've traveled round the earth, I made my mark for what it's worth. As I return today, I see my lake in a different way. But it's the same lake, though the trees and I have grown. It's the same blue sky, though many a storm has blown. It's the same sand beach where so many castles stood. The same laughing loon songs echo through the woods. I came to the lake when I was young. Yep, I came when I was 7 years old. You know that old cabin over there on the point, when you look out over the lake, you're looking over at the western edge of the western bank of the lake, the side of the lake, and over there is a homestead. It was homesteaded back in like 1911 when they were doing a lot of the homesteading up here, and the sun sinks right into the town of Max. That was the name of the town that sort of grew up there. The only thing that it really ever had was a general store, and that general store is still there. Not in operation, but it's still kept up. And came up here, started building a little bit of a new cabin on down the channel, and I got a hold of a book called No Place Like Max. Real interesting book, and it told the story of the homesteaders over there at Max, and the story about how it all came to be. And there was just a real nice story in there, and I said, I think I got to make this into a song. The song called Albert and Esther. I had a little chorus going from another song, and I put that chorus together with the true facts of Albert and Esther homesteading up here. As far as I know, it's the only Minnesota homesteading love song in existence, called Albert and Esther. Albert grew up down in Kingston, a little west of old St. Paul. Walked the lonely little logging road out the way. No, that ain't how it goes. See, I knew it would happen. This is just like being in a real concert. The guy on the TV screen here is screwing up. Here we go. Albert grew up down in Kingston, a little west of old St. Paul. Worked his daddy's farm all summer. He worked Dakota in the fall. When Minnesota froze her forest, he went up north with the other men. Worked the logging crew all winter, then home to start it all again. In 1910 he married Esther, gave to her his heart and soul. Times were hard, they had no future, and he knew he'd have to go. Back up north a man could homestead. Land was free, hard work the price. As his train left Kingston Station, there was a tear in Esther's eye. Don't wanna be here without you. Don't wanna be here alone. Don't wanna be here without you. I can't make it on my own. Albert took the train to Bena, then the spur out to Spring Lake. Walked the lonely little logging road out to where he'd make his stake. He built a sturdy woodland cabin, and he built the place for three. Plowed and planted a garden, thought of Esther constantly. Don't wanna be here without you, he said to the trees. Don't wanna be here alone. Don't wanna be here without you. I can't make it on my own. Albert was a swamper on the logging crew, clearing out the brush so the skidders could get through. Saved every nickel, he saved every dime. Finally bought a one-way ticket on that great northern line. Sent the ticket down to Esther, waited for the train to come. He was standing on that platform as they stepped out in the sun. The old plow horse pulled the wagon as they left behind the past. Albert, Esther, and the baby, together now at last. Don't have to be without you. Don't have to be here long. Don't have to be here without you. I can make it now, I know. Don't wanna be here without you. Don't be here long. Don't wanna be here without you. In this our happy home. And that is Albert and Esther, and it's a true story. And the little baby in that song who was with Esther when she stepped off the train there at Bina was Bud Anderson. And I never knew Bud. He had passed away before I got up here. But I did know the next daughter, which was Bernice, and she's gone now, and the only one left is Eleanor Wright, and she is a wonderful, wonderful lady, and I would love it if she was out there listening tonight. She can watch the replay of this if we get a chance. But I love Eleanor, and I wrote that song, and I sang it for her the first time, and said how much all of what she has done for the lake and the community meant. You know, I go and there's a road, there's the Max Road that runs out through there. It takes a bend right there at the general store, and goes up a ways, and there's another homestead up there, old Oliver's homestead, and there's a spot there where the old pasture comes down to the road. I parked the car on the side of the road, and I go out and I sit next to this old shed that's fallen down on one side, and I walk out there through the weeds and the little bitty volunteer pine trees. I sat down on that shed one day, sat down on a pail next to the shed one day, and I swear that old shed started talking to me. It told me the story of this homestead. And I thought it was an interesting song, so I wrote it down into a song. And, in case you didn't know it, the Homestead Act, there's a lot of homesteads up here in northern Minnesota. The Homestead Act was passed in 1862 and signed by Abraham Lincoln. And during the time that it was in effect, the United States government, through the Homestead Act, gave away about 270 million acres of the United States to anybody who could go out there and do what Albert and Esther did, which is to stake out your acreage and then build a cabin and plant a little farm and make a go of it. And the story that old shed was telling me about old Oliver and his homestead made me thinking, that to make it up here as a homesteader, you needed a shovel, you needed a plow, you needed those physical things. But what you really needed was heart. You had to have something deep down inside of you that would help you make it through these cold northern winters and this land that is not really much good for farming. Anyhow, this song is called "The Plowing a Friend" because that's what you needed. You needed those physical things, and you needed, if you were lucky, somebody like Albert and Esther, two friends who could help make it through. Plowing a Friend. Carved out of a forest on the old Max Road. It's all that's left of a homestead farm abandoned long ago. Field of weeds and one old shed fallen to its knees. I sit down on a rusty pail in that shed, started talking to me. Said we might be just a field of weeds and one old shed down on its knees. This old farm could rise again, all we need. Plowing a friend. Well, he told me of old Dan Tolliver, who staked in '85. His wife Gertie and their son John sure wish they were alive. Cut the trees and pulled the stumps with an old horse named Joe. Planted hope, prayed for rain, watched the miracles grow. Said we might be this field of weeds and one old shed down on its knees. This old farm could rise again, all we need, plowing a friend. Uncle Sam done give us the land. All we gotta do is make a 5-year stand. In each row you plant a seed. Cows in the barn with the milk you need. Chickens in the coop, pigs in the pen. Dream all night and start again. Well, he told me of old Dan Tolliver, who staked in '85. His wife Gertie and their son John sure wish they were alive. Cut the weeds and pulled stumps with an old horse named Joe. Planted hope, prayed for rain, watched the miracle grow. Last year the house and the barn burned down, now we're all that's left, along with that old rusty bucket and a mousetrap on the shelf. Today folks don't come out here, they all live in town. With a little help and a little luck, you could turn this place around. Said we might be just a field of weeds and one old shed down on its knees. This old farm could rise again, all we need, plowing a friend. Plowing a friend. That's a plowing a friend, and that's for actually is a friend of mine down a singer around down here in Deer River his name's Oliver, and he's an old Finnish guy, and he reads the neatest poetry. Unbelievable man. Well, you know, my grandfather and my great uncle and my Uncle John and Grandma and Aunt Sis and my mother have all gone. They passed through this country and aren't here anymore. To say nothing of the Native Americans who's got a beautiful, huge belief in the spirit world. It's my song called Spirits in the Wind, and I think given that this is 9/11, we could use a little minute to think about all those souls who have passed on. It's one of my favorite songs. Because I hear spirits in the wind up here. I hear spirits in the wind, voices of all who've ever been. You see, we never really die. We just let our spirits fly. Each life's a thread in the world's great cloth. Without us all, the pattern's lost. I touch you, you touch them. And it goes on without end. And it goes on. Yes, it goes on and on and on and on and on. No man can an island be. The space between us is not a sea. We're all connected, every man and woman, as we've been since it all began. And it goes on. Yes, it goes on and on and on and on and on. For though our bodies turn to dust, our lives live on in those we've touched. You see, the worth of us each is not in what we learn, but what we teach. And it goes on and on and on. Yes, it goes on and on and on and on and on. Spirits in the Wind. You know, I said, that I had that key in my pocket that I pulled out to every now and then because I just love that cabin up here. So I kept that key in my pocket at all times. And when I was first starting to get together with Sandy, pulled that key out of my pocket and I said, hey, you know, I think I'm the right guy for you. And she agreed. So then when we finally got together and started coming up here, I said, you know, one more thing you got to do before you really know who we are together is you got to go on a canoe trip out there into the wilderness. So we, and I've been doing this for years and years and years. We drive up to Grand Marais, up along Lake Superior, up to Grand Marais, and take the Gunflint Trail up to the very end. And there you put the canoe on a little ferry boat there, and it takes you out to customs. They check you out, and then you take it over to American Point, and they leave you off, and that's the end of the motors. Everything else is canoes. From then on out, you go through the Forest Ranger Station, pick up your permit. You portage around Silver Falls, and then you canoe up into the wilderness, and you aren't going to see anybody for a week up there. And I'm not sure that Sandy actually was ready for that. We made it, but there was some trying times there. Anyhow, you know, you get back out of there, and you have been blessed by the wilderness, you know, and that's something I truly believe, that I have been blessed many times by this beautiful wilderness. And this is my song about that trip that Sandy and I took. From Sag through Cache Bay into Saginaw, wilderness takes you in and it carries you on. Fly with the eagles and laugh with the loon, paddle in the sunshine and sleep with the moon. Wilderness water gonna wash your soul, voyaging there and then you'll know you've been blessed by the wilderness. Silver Falls is the thundering and the portage points the way. Seems to just go on and on forever and a day. That path, but it's balanced on your back, all the rocks and roots you go. Wilderness is testing you, be strong, don't let it know. Don't give up, you're gonna reach the end. Go on, it's worth it there, my friend. You'll be blessed by the wilderness. Paddled all day and the day is done, we better stop here. It's a beautiful little island and we'll take out all our gear. Pitch a tail, cook a meal, lay me down to rest. Peaceful sleep is my reward, I know I've done my best. Frogs are singing and the moon is high. Frogs are singing a lullaby. I've been blessed by the wilderness. Morning creeps into my tent, there's a mist out on the lake. It melts away and leaves a day that's there for me to take. Oh, there's pine trees by the millions. Look, a fish jumped over there. Ask the Lord, it is for sure that I'm lost without a care. Storms roll in and thunder by, leaving rainbows in the sky. I've been blessed by the wilderness. If you ain't been in the wilderness, there's so much you have missed. Special sense of wonder comes with Mother Nature's kiss. Baptized by the lakes and woods, you'll never be the same. Take the Spirit with you and be grateful that you came. Wilderness water gonna wash your soul. Voyaging there and then you'll know you'll be blessed by the wilderness. You'll be blessed by the wilderness. And I've been blessed so many times by the wilderness. We did make it through that trip. And it's one that neither she or I will ever forget. I write a lot of songs about the people and some of the events up here in Minnesota. Right over here, not far from where the theater is, there's a park, and there's a Wanigan in that park. And you don't know what a Wanigan is? It's a barge that would float down the river when the loggers were logging the river, and they put them all in the river, and they herded them all up to Canada. This barge would follow them along. It had the cook in it, and it had the stove, and that's where they made all the meals. Anyhow, we were over visiting that Wanigan, and there's a book there called Whitewater Slim. And I picked it up. It was there's about a dozen of them sitting there, and you put your $5 in the coffee can, and brought it home and read the story. And it's a very fascinating story about this guy who was a logger up here on the South Fork River, which is over a little ways east of the Big Fork River, where we are. So this is the story I wrote about from the book of Whitewater Slim. Whitewater Slim was a Minnesota logger in 1928. 5 meals a day, $3 pay was a pretty good job to take. Cut the trees in winter, get 'em out on the frozen river. When that white highway thaws, you jump on, you drive those logs. I hear Canada call to the Millet International Falls. Oh, ride those pines to the borderline. From the town of Little Fork, upstream 20 miles, there's a wicked stretch where the river runs wild. Dead Man Rapids is a drop that the loggers will not drive. Those rocks have killed every man who's ever tried. I said, ride those pines to the borderline. Over the thrill, Dead Man's Rapids, to the Brooks and Bacchus Mill. They had a 300 cord of timber moving down that river fast. Well, the rocks that Dead Man jammed them dead in their tracks. Boss man said, get out there, Slim, you know what to do. Slim danced out across that jam and he tickled a few. One started to move, oh, then the whole thing blew. There was Slim out in the middle the dead man's a rapids on a slippery old pine. Sure he's gonna die. Big rock, Eddie Wall, hang on, don't fall. Rock, roll, dip, bob. Come on, Slim, ride that log. Spin around, tip down, hit the bank, almost sank. Slide left, slide right. Who's gonna win this whitewater fight? Do the wiggle wobble dance. Between those rocks is your only chance, but you're going down sideways and there's a ton of rocks and you're going down and you're going down, you're going down. There was Slim down at the bottom of Dead Man's Rapids. But he was standing up. He made it. Not a man before or since has matched Slim's mighty drive. The only man to ride a log through Dead Man's Rapids and survive. Ride those pines to the borderline. Over the thrill Dead Man's Rapids to the Brooks and Becky's Mill. I said ride those pines to the borderline. Over the thrill Dead Man's Rapids to the Brooks and Becky's Mill. That is the true story of Whitewater Slim. And you could see from some of the pictures maybe behind me, he was actually a real folk hero up here. He was in parades and everything. Well, I had written that song in several years ago when I did one of my concerts. I sang that song and I said, okay, that's a good one. And then the next year they called me up. They said, well, we're doing a play it's a children's play, and what it is we're covering all of the history of this part of the world up here in Minnesota, from the Ice Age all the way up through today. And they said, we'd like you to do a song if you got one. And I said, well, I got this song Whitewater Slim, which is a darn good song. It's about a guy over here, who was on the river logging. And they said, well, yeah, that's nice, but, we're doing this history thing, and we want a song about the Chief Bustacoggin. And Chief Bustacoggin is a famous Indian chief up here. And I said, well, okay, I'll do a song on that. How long do I have to write it? And they said, well, you got 2 weeks. And so I said, all right, well, I'll give her a try, and we'll see what we can come up with in 2 weeks. So I went and I researched Bustacoggin. In about the middle of the 1800s, Bustacoggin was a Ojibwa chief up here, and he was the son of a Canadian trapper and a Ojibwa woman, and so he was good with both sides of the coin when they were negotiating treaty up here. So they sent him off to Washington, and he was compensated, was smart enough not to get ripped off by the land merchants and the loggers, and so he, at one time, I read in this article that I was reading about, Bustacoggin was the wealthiest Native American in the United States, right here in Big Fork. And he didn't trust the currency in the United States, so he changed all of his wealth into gold, and supposedly he buried it right here on the banks of the Big Fork River. Nobody's ever found it, and so if you have a hankering to come up here and dig for gold, you might be the lucky one who finds it. Anyhow, this is my song I wrote called Chief Bustacoggin. Bustacoggin was a Chippewa chief. He knew how to keep the peace. Silver tongue and snow white hair. Buried the gold, but nobody knows where. Buried the gold, but nobody knows where. Minnesota Northwoods, 1845. In a Chippewa paradise, come the white man, gonna change the game. Buster Coggins would never be the same. He was handsome, 6'2" and slim. Liked everybody liked him. Was a time of trade concessions won. So the big chief went off to Washington. He made a fortune with the papers that he signed. Came back home to live a simple wigwam life. Buried the gold, so the legends say, on the banks of the Big Fork River where they are today. Buster Coggins was a Chippewa chief. He knew how to keep the peace. Silver tongue and snow white hair. Buried the gold, but nobody knows where. Buried the gold, but nobody knows where. Smallpox was killing whites and natives left and right. Busty's band came upon a sick logging camp one night. He sent a runner off for help, cared for the sick, he buried the dead. He was a good man. Buster Coggins was a Chippewa chief. He knew how to keep the peace. Silver tongue and snow white hair. Buried the gold, but nobody knows where. Buried the gold, but nobody knows where. Years went by, life was fine, till he was called Congress one more time. He should have died to the call of the loon, but he died in a D.C. hotel room. Rusty was buried out with his gold. He lives on in the stories told. Buster Coggins was the Chippewa chief. You could feel his spirit blowing in the breeze. Buster Coggins was the Chippewa chief. He knew how to keep the peace. Silver tongue and snow white hair. Buried the gold, but nobody knows where. Buried the gold, but nobody knows where. That's Chief Buster Coggins. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen in the audience. Hope everybody's having a good time. I got a couple more songs to do. This one, you know, up north here of Big Fork is a little town of Effie. And I have a friend who down on the lake who grew up in Effie. And as a young high school kid, you know, I'm sure he was underage, but he used to go over to what was left of a town of Craigville. Craigville was just over the Itasca County, Coaching County line where a railroad spur ended, and a little town grew up there with more than 1,000 loggers out there in the woods cutting the trees down, and this little town grew up. Town of Craigville. And down here at the park, you know, they actually have a sign that tells you a little bit about Craigville. And back in, it was about 1928 or so, during Prohibition. And there was actually 27 bars in Craigville. They call them B&Bs. You know, today that would be bed and breakfast. Back then it was a bar and a brothel. Anyhow, Mike would go down there, and the only thing that was left of Craigville was the one bar that was the most successful bar in Craigville, run by Peggy Matisse. And he would go in there, and actually he would belly up to the bar and ask for a PBR. And he said, you know, Peggy, I understand that it was a pretty raucous place here in Craigville. And she said, yeah, it was. He says, how did you keep any kind of order? You know, because the police all were operating out of International Falls, way up the other end of the county. And she says she pulled a blackjack out from under the bar, and she says, I know how to use this. And he said, well, what if it got a little rowdier than that? And she said, well, she pulled a 38 out from under the bar, and she said, I don't know how to use this too. And he said, well, what if it got even rowdier than that? And she said, well, I got a Cadillac parked out in the back here, and I got a shotgun out there in it, and I know how to use that too. This is a song called The Cadillac Madam. She was the Cadillac Madam, sent from heaven above. Craigville, Minnesota, she was a big mountain of love. She was the Cadillac Madam, Minnesota mountain of love. Loggers all knew they'd find a good time just over the Coaching County line. Up north of nowhere, no cops, just an X-rated railroad head. Don't mess around in the ladies' part of town, she got ways to make you dead. She got a blackjack and a 38 hid back behind the bar. And if things got rough, she could get tough with a shotgun she kept out in a Cadillac car. She was the Cadillac Madam, sent from heaven above. Craigville, Minnesota, she was a big mountain of love. She was the Cadillac Madam, Minnesota mountain of love. Loggers all knew they'd find a good time just over the Coaching County line. Town had 27 bars, a brothel with a mission. Keep them loggers happy. The hell with Prohibition. Sip some moonshine, chug a beer, get into a brawl. And if you got a buck, man, you're in luck. You get a lot of loving from a lady down the hall. Just a part of the logging process. She was the Cadillac Madam, sent from heaven above. Craigville, Minnesota, she was a big mountain of love. She was the Cadillac Madam, Minnesota mountain of love. Loggers all knew they'd find a good time just over the Coaching County line. All that's left of Craigville is the echo of an axe spirit of the loggers, and some pieces of broken bottle glass. The rowdy life they lived there is now just a history page, and the Cadillac madam who made it all happen still lying on the back there, smiling up from her grave. She was the Cadillac madam sent from heaven above, Craigville, Minnesota. She was a big mountain of love. She was the Cadillac madam, Minnesota mountain of love. Loggers all knew they'd find a good time just over the Coaching County line. Yeah, goodbye, madam. Yeah, we're gonna remember you, Craigsville. And that is the Cadillac madam, and I think Marcy Lindgren is sitting out here. We've got two people in the audience. She actually knew Peggy Matisse, too. Well, if you're gonna be up here and you're gonna be doing singing songs up here in northern Minnesota, you gotta sing a song about fishing. So yeah, and I got a lot of them, but I'm gonna do this one. I kind of like it. Called "I'm Going Fishing," and any of the out there that have been to any of my concerts, you know this is supposed to be a sing-along. And so those of you sitting out there in front of your computer screens, go ahead and sing along. I'm gonna pretend I'm hearing you. Because you know you're from Minnesota if your Visa card is from Cabela's. Anyhow, I got a friend, Willie, down the channel from me, and he says the secret to catching fish is what kind of a cigar you're smoking out there in the boat. Here you go, Willie. I'm going fishing, make no mistake. Smoke a cigar out in the middle of the lake. I'm gonna catch me dinner, or it'll be a swimmer. I might just catch a few. I'm going fishing, that's what I'm gonna do. Check out the minnow bucket, lift the lid. They're all fuzzy and dead. Well, shoot, I'll just use a bare hook. I'm going fishing, gotta catch me something to cook. I'm going fishing, I'm going fishing. If I get my wish, I'll catch a fish. I love my wife, she loves hugs. Don't like fishing cause she don't like the bugs, or to mow the flies or the skaters or anything with slime. So I take my dog and that suits me just fine. Talk about your dog, I got a good one. He likes fishing, and unlike my woman, he don't complain about being too cold or too hot. He don't care if we catch fish or not. Come on, laddie, I'm going fishing. I'm going fishing. If I get my wish, I'll catch a fish. Fishing ain't about catching fish, so it's said. It's an attitude, clearing out your head. It's about sunshine sparkling off the top of the waves. It's about memories meant to be saved. It's about dragonflies skimming the surface, about how each of us got a purpose, and it's a lot of lies about the big ones and those that got away. It's about how I like to spend the day. I'm going fishing. I'm going fishing. If I get my wish, I'll catch a fish. Let's go one more time now. I'm going fishing. I'm going fishing. If I get my wish, I'll catch a fish. Yeah, I gotta go out fishing. Well, the season is coming to an end, and this concert is coming to an end. Don't forget that if you like what you heard and you want to support the Edge Center, you push the like button and you can actually subscribe, and we'll let you know when the next streaming concert's coming from the Edge Center. And don't do it right this second because you have to leave the page, but go back to the Edge website if you have a mind to, and they have a spot on there where you can donate. And anything that you can get, of course, would be appreciated because the arts are having a tough time these days. Anyhow, I'm John Perkins, and it's been a real pleasure and an honor to have been tapped to be the guinea pig for this first streaming session coming out of off the stage of the Edge Center. And I want to leave you with my last song called Box of Time. And I start this out with a little story. What if you had a magic bank account and every morning $86,400 was put into that bank account? You had to spend it during the day because tomorrow you're going to get another $86,400 in that bank account. You got to spend that. It's going to happen every day of your life. That'd be pretty sweet, man. Well, you do have that bank account. It's not money that goes into that account, though. It's time. Every morning you wake up, you have 86,400 seconds that you have to spend during the day. You can't save it because you're going to get more tomorrow. I want to thank everybody for spending some of their 86,400 seconds listening to me sing songs. It's my song called Box of Time. Everybody's got a little box of time with a hole in the bottom, where the minutes and the months and the days drain out. You can't stop them. You get that box the day you're born, and it's filled with years. When that last little second trickles out, everything disappears. It's a beautiful box of time, everything life's about. What are you gonna do with yours before your time runs out? It's a beautiful box of time, everything life's about. What are you gonna do with yours before your time runs out? Martin Luther built his box into a dream. Orville and Wilbur made time fly in a machine. Einstein reinvented time and all of outer space. My dad raised 3 boys, made our home a loving place. Everybody's got a little box of time with a hole in the bottom, where the minutes and the months and the days drain out. You can't stop them. You get that box the day you're born, and it's filled with years. When that last little second trickles out, everything disappears. It's a beautiful box of time, everything life's about. What are you gonna do with yours before your time runs out? It's It's a beautiful box of time, everything life's about. What are you gonna do with yours before your time runs out? You had piles of gold as far as the eye could see. Wouldn't be worth as much as that box you got for free. Spend every minute like it was your last dime. How you be remembered is how you spent your box of time. See, everybody's got a little box of time with a hole in the bottom, where the minutes and the months and the days drain out. You can't stop them. You bet that box the day you're born and it's filled with years. When that last little second trickles out, everything disappears. It's a beautiful box of time, everything life's about. What are you gonna do with yours before your time runs out? It's a beautiful box of time, everything life's about. What are you gonna do with yours before your time runs out? It's a beautiful box of time, everything life's about. What are you gonna do with yours before your time runs out? Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to The Edge for making this happen. Hopefully streaming from the stage of The Edge will be a thing that will go on. And so make sure that you push that like button, subscribe, and remember, spend those 86,400 seconds wisely. Good night, everybody. Thank you.